Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Gina, Soul Inspired Reflections, as we embark on day number 32 of 55 Days of Christ Consciousness. For those of you new to this little journey we're having together, it's inspired by the Christ Consciousness Self-Mastery deck created by Amanda Ellis and illustrated by Jane Delaford Taylor to assist you in your own self-mastery and anchoring in and embodying Christ consciousness energies that are within you. And I like to invite you and remind you that we're talking about energy here. While Jesus is the person, you are a person, you hold these qualities within you. There's been others that also have reached that level of attainment where they are referred to as a Christed being. And to recognize Christ means Christos is anointed one, which really is symbolic when we are anointed with the oil, is symbolic of the sacred, what's referred to as the sacred secretion of the oil that occurs in our body from along the spinal column that rises within you as you embody your higher qualities. Okay, so 5-dimensional and above. And so these qualities exist with each and every single one of you. And it's very much connected to the physical body, the nervous system, the endocrine system, and so on and so forth. So I invite you to expand your awareness of what it means to be in your crystalline body, your Christ embodiment, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. So today we will just continue to shuffle these cards. It's a 55-day journey for those of you new. Because the deck is 55 cards. And so we're just acquainting ourselves with the qualities within the deck that are within you and that will inspire you or maybe give you something to reflect on within yourself, within your own self-mastery and growth, that in the way it shows up for you in your unique journey and development. We just ask in for higher guidance, Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Archangel Metatron, to assist us with a card or two to focus our attention. Sometimes 2 cards pop out, like today. We have 2 cards. So we're going to use the top card as the primary card in the reading, which is living from the heart, soften and open. And the supporting card is the humbleness, modesty, and humility. So when 2 cards pop out like this, if there's a primary one and the supporting one, sometimes I will just treat this as 2 days in one. So even though it's 55 days of Christ consciousness, because 2 are coming out, there may only be, say, 54 recordings. Okay. So in any event, we have living from the heart and soften and open as the primary message. Humbleness, modesty, and humility. What do those have to do with each other? What do those have to do with each other? And I'm just going to pause for just a second because all of a sudden I really need to get some water. So for those of you, maybe it's time for you to maybe get some water, hydrate, because as we do this work, as you have your self-development and you're anchoring in and allowing in your Christ energy, it does impact you on a cellular level, physical level, emotional level, and hydration and nutrients becomes supportive to this process of integration. That being said, I'm going to pause briefly and get myself some water. All right, I'm back. Thank you for that accommodation, which you probably won't even notice because I'm recording this and you're listening to it all at once. But in any event, this is what's happening on my neck of the woods. And just to remind some of you, I do have a dog. You may hear him bark from time to time, and I'll pause and correct him. In any event, what is bringing us today on this lovely day of our journey of 55 days of Christ consciousness? What is it igniting in you? What are we looking at together and individually? living from the heart, and soften and open. Along with that, again, we have the humbleness, modesty, and humility. So what does that mean for you? Let's just take in the first card. Take in those colors, right? They're really vibrant. We've got that magenta pink color. We have that lotus flower opening up. And then, and that's multicolored, right? It's got the pink, and then white, and then that golden center. And then there's also the bluish green in there. So much is reminded to me, and what comes to mind is the threefold flame, the love, wisdom, power, the indigo blue plume of your divine will, your throat chakra, masculine energy, the pink plume of love, your feminine energy, creativity. It's a heart opening. And when those two come together, it makes the violet ray, the magenta, and then we have the magenta coming up in the, I believe that can be associated with is it the soul star chakra, the stellar gateway, but it's a higher wisdom coming in. And when you're bringing in the magenta color, you're opening up at one of your higher chakras. And I can't think of the exact one right now. So you can look that up on your own. And what the color magenta is associated with is really powerful, beautiful, and very much associated with the heart opening. And you also see that golden yellow, almost like a sunrise, and the sun awakens within you, and how much that awaken within you that you're feeling right now. And we also see these like green hues and tints, and almost an aqua there as well. Very healing, very beautiful. And basically our density, as you're coming into your Christ consciousness, your heart does open up. It's a requirement. It's a natural organic process that your body, that you as a living being will go through and feel. And how does that look like in your own life? It means like you start to become more creativity. Your creativity is coming out. You don't want to feel trapped or limited anymore. So some of you may switch jobs, change people that you hang around with. Or it could just be, I'm going to go start a creative project. And that doesn't mean you have to be an artist. Okay, so let's expand on the ability of what creativity is, right? Discovering what you're passionate about and drawn to does require creativity. Like for instance, there's a gardener. Maybe they're an herbalist, and then they turn the herbs into like medicine for a well-being of the body. That's creative. Or maybe there's a gardener that's more botanical or more into ornamental type of gardens. That too is creative. Or maybe someone does topiaries. That is creative. It takes on a different form. If you work with numbers, you're an accountant. You have to be creative with the numbers. And I don't mean like creative in the sense of breaking laws or something. I mean creative in being able to look at a larger picture. What's someone's finances? What are they bringing in? What are they spending? How do we do the accounting so it's in a positive cash flow, right? If they need to learn about taxes and tax laws and tax planning, how does financial planning and tax planning come together? Those are all number related things that are within us, we'll say a certain structure depending on where you live and construct, right? So you got to be creative in the way you look at it, right? Be able to see all aspects of what it is that your individual client is seeking to be successful at, or you yourself are being successful at, right? So it can show up differently in anything that you do and interact with. To be open-hearted is a very creative thing within you opening up, and it can feel like you're being cracked open or broken open. But that's the expansion, right? That's all the work you did to get out of your shell or your chrysalis, as some would say, so you can now expand into this lotus, illuminated, free. There's more flowing. There's a sense of flow and water here. A heart opening is very much connected to the emotional body and emotions. And heart, because emotions is energy in motion. Okay, how can you relate and translate the information of your emotional body in a different way than being attached to the same understanding of what emotions are. So this too is also an invitation for you to recognize your emotions and learning how to understand them from the wisdom of them, and recognizing that if you are a soul, I believe you are a soul, a light within the physical body. Okay. An essence that in consciousness that connects to all of life, and recognize that the emotions that are felt within the sensory body has information for me. It has information for me because without the body, I cannot experience that without the physical body. So, and that too can be related to, it definitely impacts the physical. So those of you that may have chronic pain and maybe depression, your body, I would venture a educated guess that your body is also in some sort of pain or chronic pain, right? So now when the body and mental body begin to become free, so does the physical body. The physical body is a reflection of your thoughts and mental state. And I'm simplifying this, okay? Because there's a lot that comes into when we manifest in the body, particularly ailments. That's not without going into soul agreements, soul contracts, things like that. But you also have the ability to be released of some of those things, unless on a soul level, a deeper lesson is here for you to learn through an experience. And sometimes that is through illness. So you'll also see these little specks of gold, like sparkly specks of gold in here. It's kind of hard to see on this camera, but I'll move it around and you could see it. And it just reminds me of, like, it's totally sparkling and radiating from the center out. That's you. As your heart opens, you radiate from the center out, and it's felt. It's very palpable. People may even comment like, oh, you look brighter today, or you look really happy. What's going on, right? Oftentimes we equate that to sometimes when people are in new relationships, right? There's vitality coming in and energy and creation energy. When you're in creation energy, you're in the God energy that's within you. And there's no limit to that heart openness that you can sustain within yourself and be in all moments of life, even with the challenges that come. And that brings me back to this, the supporting card of humility, humbleness, modesty, and humility. Those of you on a path of ascension and recognizing you're on the Christ consciousness path of light, integration, self-mastery, particularly, that's not an easy feat to be a soul's calling, to be in self-mastery and see this world with other levels of light. There's a humbleness I feel that occurs and have experienced, not even what I feel, this happens. The ego becomes humbled. The way you look at life go through what could be referred as a deconstruction, and you're humbled to all that is, right? This is an image of Jesus washing the feet of others, right? He's not above anyone, and neither are you. And so to pay attention to when your ego is taking the wheel and you are posturing in a way, you have to allow yourself to go deeper within yourself and be humbled, and even own up to like mistakes that you've made, or if you came across harsh, there's nothing wrong with owning that and go, and reaching out to that person without excuses, right? To just say, hey, I realized I was really hard. And even if you don't know why you were really hard on someone else, it's a reflection of something within you on a deeper level, perhaps, that was triggered and unresolved, and that soul brought it out, them in front of you, or whatever was occurring, it magnified whatever was in with you, and it drew it out even more. But the ability to own it without excuse, and just go and even acknowledge, like, there's no reasoning on why I acted and chose to be this way, and own it, and then make like an inner resolution to change and be different from that way forward. Now, that doesn't mean people outside of you are going to forgive you or forget. That's their journey. But when you can let go of that and be humbled in the process of your experiences, be humbled in the awakening of the heart, which can really bring people to their own mercy at times. It just trust there's light to be had. There's light to be had. There's water to wash away the troubles. There's always someone there, Jesus here, to support you along the way and basically almost wash away anything that's holding you back. But let's see what the card for living from the heart has to say. What wisdom does it have for you and us today? And it's card number 40 for those of you that wish to look up the numerology. Please do that on your own. When I think of the number 4, I just think of foundation and a square base. How might your structure and your own inner foundation be supporting your heart awakening and to soften and be open? Do you have the structure and foundation to allow yourself to be softer and open, right? If I was in front of someone that perhaps didn't know how to hold my softness, and I didn't have the foundation yet to be unaffected, I'll say, in their lack of ability to hold me with gentleness and care. If I didn't have my own building block for that, to show myself that, then I may not want to open myself to someone that perhaps has the inability at the time to be softer and open and vulnerable, and also be a space holder for me in that sense, right? So you also maybe recognize that you're gentle right now and vulnerable, and the layers of you are very thin and hypersensitive, which is all good and beautiful. But surround yourself in and give yourself the foundation and begin to build the foundation for yourself to create spaces that can support you be basically in that incubator stage, a gestational stage for yourself, so you can open to your fullness and brightness, with humbleness and humility, but with feeling protected, right? Because there's a safety in this. There's even a safety in this card too that requires a lot of trust and openness to allow someone to wash the feet. And it also requires a humbleness to wash someone else's feet without judgment. Okay. But living from the heart is asking so much of all of us, and we're learning every day what that means on a true sense, like a cosmic truth. And to recognize living from the heart and holding that energy is to just one step along the way. And it's an infinite journey to be fulfilled, as we recognized in day 30, I believe, or 29, with the new vintage, right? That infinity is your chalice full, and opening of the heart assists you in filling that chalice. But you have to learn some foundational things through that process of awakening. So here's what the message is in the card for you and for me. To understand what living from the heart is, we need to appreciate first what it is not. The gospel makes clear that a hardened heart is one that cannot see or hear God. Then not only do we fail to understand the consequences of our actions, but we are blind and deaf to being able to witness God, how God can work through any situation, event, or person. And remember, we just went through Peter, that denial too. We have to be willing to see, right? And see all things. This is particularly true when faced with a challenge where we immediately block the opportunity for breakthrough and instead focus on the problems that are there. The disciples are admonished for being unable to see or understand even after they have seen miracles previously happen in the same circumstances. When faced with tainted yeast from Herod and the Pharisees. They were about having no bread until Jesus reminds them of the feeding of the 5,000. So that's that feeding of the 5,000, one of the miracles, right, to feed the 5,000. And I believe that was with the fish, right, to where he fed everybody. It's so easy that we can witness something out of like a miracle and forget that it's possible, right? So remind yourself, you have miracles every day. The fact that you're living and breathing is a miracle. It truly is. Like, do you ever ponder that you were once, how you were even created? Do you ever ponder that you yourself are a miracle on this planet, walking and breathing and feeling everything? That a man and a woman came together, an egg and a sperm came together and created the cells, and it implanted, and the cells grew and grew and grew. You were just cells that didn't look anything like you do right now. And then you came to physical life, breathing, talking, having a nervous system, an endocrine system. It's very fascinating. So let's not forget the miracle that is you, and be hopefully grateful every morning that it's like, wow, I woke up to breathe another day and experience another day. And how might that also contribute to being humble and humility to life, right? Because you're only given this opportunity one time. That's it, one time. The heart is also a mechanism. Living from the heart, therefore, is about trust and being able to see the highest potential, the path through which God can work even in the most unseen or unlikely places. In our own lives, it is easy to self-sabotage, have doubts, be unclear, or focus on unwinnable odds. Yet, excuse me. Yet, if we soften our hearts and open to see and hear God, we hold the key that makes everything possible. The heart is also the mechanism through which we both give and receive. It stands to reason that if we have closed our hearts due to fear, past circumstances, skepticism, and more, we will fail to be able to receive the gift, bounty, and way out of our predicament. Ego, pride, and foolishness, too, can prevent us from receiving the answers and help we seek. This can also arise from falling into victim consciousness, the belief that nothing good ever happens to me, or that I am unlucky or undeserving in some way. Jesus always taught that everyone was deserving of love, and our heart has not forgotten this promise. The adage to trust our heart is one we have all heard, but often fail to put it into practice. We doubt our heart can be correct, and we feel intrinsically know something or prompted to try something new, visit somewhere, or try out for a new job or role. Living from the heart is about recognizing that God works through these promptings, signs, and feelings, and that we are not wrong to trust them. So this is very much connecting also to your intuition and your higher heart, your higher self, your I am presence, and trusting that you're being led all the time and being prompted all the time. You have to have the willingness and eyes to see and feel and acknowledge that, oh yeah, it's time to switch roles. It's time to change something. It's time to make a move. And your higher self will guide you there, but you have to be willing to open and listen to your heart in a way that you haven't before, because it's so easy for the ego to come in and go, well, it's less money, or you have to move, or do you really want to do that? You're fine just here. Who else is going to do it? That's the ego talking, right? I've made plenty of, I'll give some personal examples where I literally, it would be considered a demotion just because of pay. So I took a cut in pay, but I recognize it cost me more to stay in my current position than it did to switch roles. Okay. It's not just financially, it cost me more to stay in my current role, like health and stress wise, And that was meant more to me than the financial piece of sacrifice of having a lower wage, really, which was temporary, right? I got back to what I was earning pretty quickly. But it gave me so much more in return to take the leap and trust that was the best move for me. And it was at the time. And then I was invited to take another leap of faith and trust, and where I just left altogether. And every time I know some place is no longer resonance for me, I sit with myself, I go inward, open my heart and listen and reflect and ask for my higher guidance to show me what to do. Logic, the way I once knew it, no longer plays a role in the same way. That comes in when I'm ready to make a choice sometimes, like maybe it's a timing thing. Okay, yeah, maybe it's time for me to leave, but is it best that I just up and quit and trust that something else will come? And oftentimes that is the case, like just trusting that the next thing will going to come. And I don't need to stick to the old adage of I have to have a job to go get another job. Not at all. This past year, I was in 2 different places and recognized, nope, that's not a fit for me. And I just trusted something else will come. And then I did that again. I got to a certain place and level, and then I realized, wow, there was no more growth here for me. But it wasn't about no more growth. Did I want to grow further there was really my question. And then like, nope, opened it up, left. And then my whole world opened up again and afforded me time to do other things like sound baths and actually pay more attention to growing my own business. So you never know what taking that leap of faith and heart from the heart and trust it'll open gateways for you and doorways for you very fast. But it does require a humbleness of the ego, humility, and trust of your heart, and faith of your presence will lead you to the next phase. In truth, when our hearts are fully opened as the lotus flower, life is richer, and we send healing and pollinate the world with love, resulting in Christ consciousness action. So this is love in action, Christ consciousness in action. Okay. One open heart can open another, and so it continues, because when we are witness for love, we create a chain reaction that helps balance and harmonize our world. To live from the heart necessitates us being vulnerable sometimes. We will also come up against those who are closed and intransigent, and may well be triggered by our goodness, since shining a light can make others very aware of their own lack of brilliance. Staying humble and non-judgmental and holding compassion while the messy part of evolving takes place for us and others is key. So there's no doubt why the humbleness card came up, because it's true. As you become brighter and your light is being spread, sometimes people are drawn to you, and other times they're repelled by your light because they're not ready for their own light yet. And to recognize and come from the higher place, that Christ consciousness, energy, and awareness, to recognize that, and it's all okay, and it's not personal to you. Their response to you is not personal. So pay attention if you're feeling like it's personal, but truly it is not, especially when you don't even know someone. There's really no way to tie it back into any particular event. It's not personal. People unknowingly make it personal, but when you let go of the personal attachments, the emotional attachments, in a way that you haven't before, and you relate to them differently, it's not even going to impact you. You'll be able to hold that level of love and humility and neutrality and non-judgment and a deeper awareness of what's truly happening, because the other person doesn't have the awareness yet to even acknowledge what's occurring. And I say yet because we're all on our own divine timing, our own level of awakening, and it's designed that way because we're all go up and down in our healing and growth. But as you continue to grow, those around you are uplifted. Those that aren't ready for that, they may go away for you from a while and may return, or may find it somewhere else, or they may not return physically in your space. So just be aware of that if you're experiencing a time When you're like, gosh, nobody's in my life right now that I once knew, you could feel a sense of loneliness. Just know you're not alone, and it's temporary, and to connect to your God self, connect to your higher self in nature. Go call it in when your prayers, I mean, like, bring me those that are ready to be in my light, right? That can handle who I am in this moment, and bring that to me, right? Nature can handle you always, no matter what state you're in. Animals too, like our dogs, can always. So there's things there for you, your plants, things like that. So connect in that sense, and give yourself the space and your own humility as you're recognizing you are transforming. And that can go up and down in your vulnerability and sensitivities, but to show yourself humility and grace through a transformational process will transfer over to showing others humility and grace and patience and forgiveness in theirs. Okay. Staying humble and not, I'll read this line again. Staying humble and non-judgmental and holding compassion while the messy part of evolving takes place for us and others is key. The lotus grows and must push through mud to show its beauty, becoming one of the most stunning flowers. And as such, we too can burst out of our difficulties, limited mindsets, and ego, and arrive at the heart's portal to birth new worlds today. So that is exactly what you're doing. You're birthing your own new world today. You're becoming the lotus. And then the lotus has always been a metaphor for opening and awakening. You're bringing in the humility and modesty to this process as you're washing away what limits you. And in that means you'll assist others wash away what is limiting them. And they may not even recognize it, and they don't have to. They will just know that they feel better in your presence. And it's not from an ego place on your end. It's just your divine essence showing through. Your brightness is showing through, that you are literally, as the card said, pollinating the world with your God light. And you will attract and uplift others through just being yourself and just being love and grace, and allowing yourself to transform, and giving others the space to do that too, and recognizing it's an act of surrender, trust, faith, and openness, and allowing yourself to be with the energies that are running in, through, and around you, and to let yourself go from any past indiscretions, any past experiences, and just hold the wisdom of them, because they helped you get here to this moment. But it's only up to you to allow them to fall away. Allow the veils to fall away through love, through forgiveness, through compassion, through the mud, the mulch that has brought you here. It's nurturing. There's so much nutrients in that. So that's all I have for you today. Remember to like and share this video for others. Take only what you need and leave the rest. Remember to revisit it from time to time, because perhaps something else will shine its light for you. I'm Gina, Soul Inspired Reflections. Much love to all of you. And until we meet again on day, I believe, 32 of Christ consciousness. Have a blessed day.